We're getting quite a few questions, so we'll go ahead and bring in some audio. So let's go ahead and bring up some of your reports. So we're getting lots of lightning and thunder in the Lotus. Thank you for that. Yes, this storm is definitely producing quite a bit of lightning, as you can see on radar. Let's go ahead and check out this guy, DrewBox84, DrewXbox84 is asking what is the speed. So let's go ahead and get an actual track if we can, and it looks like it's moving at about 37 or 35 to 37 miles an hour. At the moment, it's looking like the storm is continuing the weekend, and radar is indicating half-inch hail, where before it was 1-inch hail, but we'll continue to watch that. Um, so plus lines. Okay, so we're getting a message, not the sun fashion. So we're getting a question here. I'm not sure exactly what exactly you're referring to. You're seeing some plus signs. Um, Below those are essentially just lightning strikes that the global lightning monitor is detecting with the storm. It'd be interesting also to let you know that even though the storm is right here, you can see we're seeing some lightning even away from the storm. These are known as bolt out of the blue kind of lightning bite. So you don't have to be inside a storm to actually see lightning. You can actually see lightning or get lightning away from the storm, just the way the mechanics are set up. So just because you're in Stone Oak, Timberwood Park, Chavano, Leon Valley, and the storm is to the west, doesn't mean you can't get any kind of lightning. As you can clearly see, we're seeing quite a bit of lightning, even though the storm is essentially to our west. So just be aware that you don't have to be in and or under a storm for that to happen. And I'm going to bring in my partner, Martin. Uh, Thanks for
Good
joining,
evening, good
Martin.
evening, good evening.
And Zachary is confirming, yes. So essentially, Zachary, these are just the lightning flashes that are being reported by the Global Lightning Monitor. And as you can see, again, that this storm does have quite a bit of lightning. And based on what we've seen out there, quite a bit of lightning. Martin, what do you have for us?
Oh, power outage apparently at different parts of San Antonio.
And the storm
So,
hasn't even hit, right? I mean, we're not even,
mm,
the storm hasn't even like entered the Bear County area and we're already getting some power outages.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I just got an alert from my day job that the power went down at the server. So,
Oh, wow.
yeah.
So, just real quick, we're getting as hail predicted for the UTSA area and any hail reports. So, stand by for the, see if we can bring up some hail reports here while we bring up anything that's come up. I'm not seeing any hail reports. I've actually brought up the filter for that. Not seeing any hail reports being reported with this cell, other than we do see radar indicating potentially half-inch hail. So let's go ahead. One of the issues that we're having here is this radar that we're using is KGRK, which is way up here, just north of Austin, because currently KEWX is down the radar. So we're getting radar echoes from a radar that's kind of further away. So while we're still getting a decent imagery of the storm, we would prefer to have a radar that's near to get a real good composite look of that. But so we'll get whatever we can. We're going to bring up the
I,
maximum
I think
estimated hail. Go ahead, sir.
I think you should switch over to Laughlin. That one's scanning at 6,000. The other one's at 14.
Okay, I'll do that in a second. And right now, looks like the major, at least with the grandeur or Granger, radar is estimating up to maybe 1 inch towards the south. Looks like maybe half inch or whatever on, or half inch or so on the actual core or near the core of the storm. So, as we were noting earlier, it looks like this storm is actually beginning to weekend. But let's go ahead and do what Mr. Martins has suggested. Let's go to the KDFX radar.
And to answer
And
intro to Mig, Um, practically every storm in South Texas has usually some hail in it. Now, except the ones coming with like tropical systems, but almost every other storm does have some hail. It's just that Texas is so hot it melts before it makes it all the way down.
thank you for that. And we're getting a preliminary potential strike should the storm continue on course and trajectory. Alotes, we're estimating around an hour before it technically reaches you. We continue to watch this storm, however, as anything can happen between now and that hour. I have noted some weakening a little bit on the north side, and now it seems to be more concealed or more congealed towards the center. I think, if anything, maybe potentially um, wind may be more of an issue with this storm as the hail component seems to be dropping. Um, so, we're kind of estimating 40 to 50-mile-an-hour winds possible in some areas, especially on the southern end of the storm. And that's relatively way up there in the atmosphere. So towards the surface, that may actually mix down a little bit less than that. As I said, it looks like the storm is technically weakening a little bit, but we do have some occasional values of 50, almost 60-mile-an-hour winds with this storm, as measured at just above the surface. So you could see 40 to 50-mile-an-hour wind gusts, say, towards, if this storm continues to push to the east, you could technically see some additional wind gusts as the storm pushes, say, maybe if it were to continue like this, maybe downtown San Antonio, maybe by Lackland, but we continue to watch this storm as it continues to move east. At this point, there are no warnings for Bexar County. We have the warning right to our west for 1 inch hail and the 70-mile-an-hour winds. But as we've noted, and I'm going to put it into motion and see, we can see some of that weakening as it continues to push off to the east. You can see right up here that it's starting to lose some of that, those reds and oranges that it had earlier, and it seems to be more towards the center. But the other thing we also look at in terms of any kind of radar is just the overall look of the lightning. And so far, the lightning just continues to be quite numerous. So we continue to monitor this storm as it continues to push to the east. I don't think at this point, based on what I'm seeing, that we're looking at the monster hail that we saw. Remember that, Martin, about a week ago or so? We were seeing all that monster hail that was down by Kirby and those areas on the east side.
Yeah, yeah. The energy is definitely a lot lower, and the energy setup is not like it was last time. It was earlier, but it seems to have really dropped off after sunset.
And I'm just playing around real quick, guys. Just bear with me as I go up a couple of tilts. I'm just usually, when I see lightning, I mean, we're seeing lightning all the way over here by St. Hedwig, and we're like, the storm's way over here. So I'm just looking at the top tilts to see if maybe there's some elevated, activity potential that may be causing some of these lightning strikes. But it looks like it's just general activity. And so it looks like this area is just so charged with electricity that it's actually pushing some of these bolts way off to the east. So again, guys, while the storm continues to push to the east, and it looks like now that is no longer a severe warning storm. So it looks like the severe thunderstorm warning has been removed from this cell. We'll continue to watch it though, but at this point, it looks like the severe characteristics of the cell have diminished enough for the storm not to be severe warned. But I'm just going to hang here real quick just to make sure if maybe it's a reissue. Um, so let's look at some of the comments that are coming in. Uh, yeah, we kind of like the little blinking layer there, just to kind of keep it. We can obviously change that, but we kind of enjoy to see the lightning kind of show the where they are, and sometimes with all the stuff that's going on radar, it's good to see that. But we definitely can turn that off, so we'll just kind of turn that off for a minute since we all know that lightning's there. Um, there could be some small. I don't know where you are, Allie, but I would say depending on the area where you are happen to be, there could be some small hail based on what radar is showing. Um, yeah, it's definitely quite a bit of thunder out there, and especially with all the lightning that we were showing with all that blinking, definitely some lightning that will cause some pretty loud thunder. And happy we don't know. Yeah, yeah, we don't have to run outside with blankets or actually inside with blankets this time. It just looks like the storm has actually just as it gets closer to Bexar County is starting to weaken. So that's definitely good news. Hopefully we can get some good rain. Meanwhile, now speaking of that, what do you got there, Mr. Martin?
Oh, answering a question, what are the sustained winds? Right now in San Antonio, we're looking at 11 mile an hour. Hondo obviously is sustained at 51, but that's also because the storm is blowing through. So the storm still has some kick to it. So hopefully you tie down all your everything you want to keep in your yard. Otherwise, the neighbor might get to keep it. But just trying to answer one of the quick questions coming up on there.
Cool. Well,
And
thank you. Thank you very much. For those of you that were asking earlier, I saw a couple of tweets come in on our Bear County Severe Weather Twitter if some of the west side would get some rain. Should this storm cell continue to hold together as it continues to push east, it may be that the areas that maybe have missed out on some rain in the past may get some pretty good rain now, where we're showing some rainfall rates of up to 4 inches an hour in some of the main core of the storm and pockets of that as the storm continues to push eastward. So, for those of you that were kind of missing out on the rain before on the extreme western sides of Bear County, you might get some pretty good douser as the storm continues to move. Now, it is moving around 30 to 35, so don't expect 4 or 5 inches in your yard, but it should maybe be enough to kind of give it a little bit of a quench from whatever dryness that's come in for that. So, again, for those on the west side that asked earlier, as this continues to update, so now it looks like we're more down to the, yeah, we're still showing 3 to 4. And it looks like now some of that is starting to bleed into the western areas. So, for those of you that were asking earlier, can't remember the actual individual, there could be a chance you could see some pretty good rain. If you happen to be generally in this area right in here, obviously up north, it's looking like less of a rain event. And so let's bring up normal radar again. Um, so we're getting some, well, we're definitely um, enjoying all these comments that we're getting. Keep bringing those in. Keep bringing them in, and we'll do our best to show them and answer your questions as well. Uh, yeah, so somebody's saying they forgot to empty a rain gauge. Sorry about that. And National Weather Service has the storm severity to moderate instead of severe, it seems. Well, it is no longer severe warned. And as we continue to see, let's go ahead and put it in motion. We can definitely see the storm is starting to lose some of the reds and deep reds it had earlier as it continues to push to the east. So hopefully this ends up being more of a rainmaker. Rather than a severe bringer. We definitely don't need any of that hail, right, Martin? That big H word we all kind of hate here.
yeah,
Um,
yeah, I think well, anyone on Research Parkway, SeaWorld, just keep an eye out for some hail. But as this thing starts coming downhill, but it doesn't look like we're going to be having a repeat of last Monday, where you know everyone remembers that one. Exactly a week ago, to
it
be
was it a
honest.
week? That's a week ago, wasn't it? I
Yeah.
couldn't remember. I couldn't remember right off track if it was actually a week ago or not. Um, but definitely, looking at it, still has this thing definitely still has some lightning in it. So, you're going to see some pretty good rain potentially. Maybe
Has the lightning
some
rate come down yet?
I'm trying to see where that lightning, why it's not showing up. I'm trying to get that lightning rate to come back up here. Um, Not seeing why it's not showing up. Maybe because I switched radars and it's kind of confused now. But I'm trying to see if I can get that going. But at the moment, it's still seeing quite a bit of lightning flashing in general. I think
Hey,
it
hey,
has come down a little bit. Go ahead
are you able to change the background map to show the topo?
to show the topographics.
Yeah, yeah, because we're having a question on about a natural barrier, and if you actually take a, oh, hang on,
Let's see if I actually have something. I don't think I do.
yeah, but they're asking.
Let's see if we can do this. This may
So to
not.
the west and to the north
So here you
is the
go.
hill country, which means
So let's turn that
hills.
off. So here we are. So here's Bear County. So go ahead, Martin. As you can see here, we have quite a bit of hills and higher terrain. And I'm going to let Martin continue after that.
Okay, and if you actually live out there, you know that there's a lot of rocks out there. So the water that does calm down flows. That's why we're in Flash Flood Alley. So that also causes the dropout on storms. So as they get closer to the city, they actually start approaching what we call the plains of the coast of Texas. So unless they got a bunch of energy with them or the environment is right, if they're coming from west to east, they tend to get a little bit weaker. But that also means if they've had a lot of hail up in them, they start to drop it right as they decide to come over San Antonio and around San Antonio, which you can kind of see on here on the different maps. And that's pretty much why San Antonio is in this weird little kind of energy bubble when it comes to storms.
And he's actually very correct. We actually had that confirmed that because we live just right next to higher terrain. In fact, the terrain here versus the terrain here, I believe, is 1,000 feet difference, if I'm not mistaken, give or take. So just in within our own county, we have about 1,000 feet difference in elevation. But he's entirely correct. This is all hill country, and as the actual storms begin to come towards Bear County, we happen to be in a more smoother, more plainer area than up here where the hills are, and that tends to dry out the storms, and that tends to kind of weaken them sometimes. But then, like you said a week ago, that wasn't the case. We had those hailers come in, so it just depends basically on how the storms are set up, and if they have quite a bit of energy with them to start, that they can actually kind of continue to move through. And by the way, just an FYI, that was a day we were under a marginal risk. Remember, we had a marginal risk for severe weather. It got eventually upgraded to slight once that severe cell moved through. But just to show that even with a marginal risk, we were getting those monster hailstones. And I'm going to bring up radar real quick again. So just because we happen to see that we're either in a moderate, or I'm sorry, a marginal or a slight risk, doesn't mean we just kind of forget the severe risk in general. And again, you can clearly see that the storm is starting to lose some of its oomph. Um, Most of the actual stronger activity now seems to be focused. I'm going to take off the live sweep now. I'm going to bring up and let it put it into motion. And you can see now most of the storm is starting to move more to the southeast, and the heaviest activity now seems to be towards the south. The northern areas may get some decent rain and actually may not get as much rain as it continues to push to the east. But central, say from 1604 southward to 1604, should the storm continue at its current course and intensity, you could get some heavy rains and maybe some gusty winds. Could see some additional redevelopment, though. I'm starting to see something right in here as the storm continues to push east, some potential redevelopment as it continues to push that way. Um, so let's look at some of these comments that are coming here. So, as someone who moved from Houston to San Antonio, that's good to know. Thank you. I'm used to hurricanes and praying for wind shear and pressure system turning tropical systems. Well, we don't like wind shear too much here. We don't like the hail word. Most of us have to deal with roofs or um, cars being damaged. So hail is definitely something that we do not like here. Sorry, we're getting a little slow here. Heavy winds, tons of lightning and power going in and out over by 211 and 90. Unfortunately, 211 and 90, they got rattled last week as well, if I remember correctly. So if you're in the area of 211 and 90, well, just watch out for some heavy winds, tons of lightning. Um, Not seeing the hail signature too much. Martin, did we get you back? Just noticed you may have left.
Yeah, I
Oh,
had
okay,
some
good.
connection trouble and
Okay,
dropped out. Uh,
no problem. I was just mentioning just like that, the 211 and 90, they got, I remember we were watching that. I think that was an area that was tornado warned at one point. So
yeah,
211 and 90 has not had a pretty good spring this far. But this storm continues to weaken. Looks like we may be picking up some echoes over here on the east side. But at this point,
yeah,
it
but
looks like we're good.
also considering how far it's from the radar, that might be a data
Yeah,
disruption.
yeah.
And
Let me just for the fun part, let's bring up. I think just the fact that we are no longer severe warned as well. But let's bring up this one as well, just to make sure that we're okay. That's the sad part. This is a part where you definitely miss your closest radar.
ooh, there's
Yeah.
a storm report out of Castroville saying they've had high voltage power line transformers going.
Yeah, here it is. I got one from Hondo showing up here, showing some winds of 70 mile an hour reported with the storm as it was moving to the east. As you can see, the storm no longer is a severe and no longer severe warned, but just know that this particular cell at one point had winds of 70 miles an hour. So what we were talking about earlier about how as the storms tend to push towards Bear County and they kind of tend to die out, I think that's a good thing sometimes because look at all, I mean, who wants 70 mile an hour winds in their neighborhood? And that's in Hondo, not too far away from Bear County. So, and what was your storm report? Some power outage by Castroville? I think we may have lost Martin. I think sometimes he has some technical uh, difficulties. But again, that is a report we got from Hondo. And so sometimes it's just great that we have the storm essentially die as it gets closer. Um, so we're getting here what the cap looking like for possible redevelopment. So I think the fact that the severe thunderstorm watch runs till 12, there's always a possibility that it'll be extended. But I think the fact that that severe thunderstorm watch goes through 12. I'm going to bring up something here. Um, Bear with me for 1 second, and I'm going to turn off radar. I know this looks kind of weird, but this is essentially fuel that the storms need in order to um, work or in order to grow or in order to feast. And there's still quite a bit amount of fuel. This is, I believe, the MU. Yeah. So there's still a bit amount of fuel that's available. But I think the main reason that we're starting to lose some of this activity is the fact that I believe the cap may be coming into play as well. And I'm trying to see if I can get some of that data as we move here. So let's see where we are. So this is essentially the cap that's being displayed anywhere where you don't see any color. That's where the cap's not valid. But as you can see, we have a pretty decent cap at around 90 bits. Sorry, 90 millibars. So look at the SYN serve. We have quite a bit of SYN as well, or convective inhibition. So I believe the cap may be playing into why some of these storms are starting to die as we get into Bear County. So I'm going to turn on the radar one more time. Looks like we have Martin back. Welcome back, Martin.
Hey, had to switch over to another audio or another video source.
So again, it looks like the actual lightning and storm thunder seems to be the main, concerns with this activity, which is great. We rather have some vibrating windows rather than some damaged cars and roofs. So on the northeast side, they're getting some vibrating from this crazy thunder, um, and thanks to Gotta Run, but thank you for walking this in. Yeah, how can we contribute? At this point, we're just doing it on volunteer basis. We thank you guys for your support and appreciate you guys turning to us for your weather coverage and severe storm coverage. We want to keep you guys informed, and maybe later on we may have some ideas on how you can help us out. But at the moment, we're doing this just for volunteer basis, and we thank you guys for your support, for keeping us active and keeping us on top and um, top of mind and so forth. We really appreciate that. So seems like Martin, we're getting quite a bit of. I'm going to turn on the lightning again. So there we go. So I'm able to get the. So I don't know why, but I'm able to get the lightning count. We're down to 191. Hang on, it's going to do a refresh. 188 now. So it was up to about 250 before. That it looks like some of the main lightning core is over here by Castroville. But we're occasionally getting some lightning by Dominion and Elotes, and even over here by New Berlin and St. Hedwig. I mean, the lightning is just everywhere tonight. And so it's obviously allowing people to kind of, freak out that there's no storm nearby, but there's lightning. So this is a clear example of how storms can project lightning distances
Oh yeah,
further away.
it can be at least 10, 20 miles from where you think it is, and but that anvil will definitely drop lightning. You know, before it used to be called bolts out of the blue or heat lightning, but it's actually the anvil that it's dropping it down to you, and you got to be careful with those schools. Those are the stronger ones. Those are the ones that will put holes in cars and set houses on fire.
As a matter of fact, we tweeted, thanks to CPS Energy, they shared an image of a utility pole that got zapped by lightning. I don't know if some of you all may have caught our tweet earlier today, but lightning's not something to play with. Yes, we talked the juicy stuff. We talked the hail, and we talked the tornadoes and stuff. But lightning's also something to contend with when it comes to essentially personal life and property. I mean, if lightning strikes your home the right way, there can be some issues that way. So even if it's not a severe warned cell, considering it's got this much lightning, 168 strikes, so it's definitely starting to show some weakening, there's still some issues that can occur with lightning. So definitely not something to keep your uh, guard down on. So it looks like we're seeing some wet and windy hard rain on the transguide cams out there too. So there's going to be some areas. So let's kind of just quickly show that if you're west of Leon Valley, kind of zoom in a little bit. So you're just in between 16 and 1604 on the west side, west of Leon Valley. And if you're just to the northwest of Lackland. I'm going to put this in motion, just kind of get a general view of how this is going. So the storm was initially moving east, but now it looks like it's kind of pushing now towards, and quickly, towards the southeast. So areas to the north, you may get a smattering of some rain. More than likely, you'll probably see more lightning than you will see some rain. But this is the areas to the north. But it looks like the western areas down here in western Bexar County, as the system continues to push to the east southeast now. Lackland looks like you're going to get some pretty good rain. Somerset as well. Any areas right around here, the 211, 90, 1604, 35, and 410 area. It looks like you guys are going to get some brief heavy rains. And if you happen to be in this core right here, as that pushes through, you're going to definitely see a light show. So be aware again that lightning will probably be the biggest hazard as this activity continues to push to the southeast. Again, just because the storm is here doesn't mean you're not seeing lightning or potentially lightning further to the east or south or of that particular cell. So again, we are seeing most of the activity kind of confined with the cell here, but we've seen some lightning bolts all the way by New Berlin and so forth. And again, the storm continues to look like it's weakening as we're down to about 150 strikes as it continues to move to the southeast. We're getting a report now from 1604 and 151. We're getting some pretty good heavy rain around that area. So if you're out and about or just happen to be out in your area of neighborhood, just be aware that some good heavy rain is falling. Martin, as you know, last week we had some pretty good rain that helped our drought situation. This can only just help with that, doesn't it?
Oh yeah, yeah. We actually caught up to the year on that one day, or that those 2 days of rain caught us up, and so hopefully this will also help the Edwards Aquifer, and it'll hopefully the water what is it though, the water conservation stages that we're at.
Yeah, I think we're at stage 2 at the moment.
Yeah.
Yeah, the stage restriction. I think we're at stage 2. Maybe that'll be refined a little bit, maybe back to stage 1 or less. But that was definitely, we had we had some damages and so forth, and that's kind of sad to have that. But it was great to have all that rain to make up for that drought deficit. That once we get into what, June, July,
Oh yeah.
we're kind of, unless we get some kind of tropical system, um, you know, we're usually pretty much dry and high and dry.
Yeah, except for the occasional hailstorm that'll come by and cool us down.
And just so you all know that you guys are reporting some heavy thunder and stuff. Just we all live in Martin and I, we live in homes and apartments just like y'all. And I just heard a pretty good rumble, so we're not impervious to that. So I wouldn't doubt some of the lightning that's around this area is why it takes about 30 seconds for the system to update. But so here we are, the main cluster down here by Castroville, and yet we're seeing lightning over here by Fair Oaks and even further north by 46 on the northern end, even beyond Bear County. So again, as Martin mentioned, that's due to the anvil, and as the storm blows off up at the higher atmosphere, some of that lightning gets transferred as well in that higher atmosphere. It gets pushed off to the, in this case, I mean, east southeast, but even the northern areas are starting to see some lightning as well. So just don't be surprised that that is occurring. And we're down to now 86 or 85 lightning bolts. I'm kind of zooming in on the actual storm to see. So what started off at 250 strikes when this thing was actually severe warned, we're down to about 80 strikes now. Um, so definitely a weakening and just more of a rain event, Martin, and just some lightning out there. Not seeing any other storm reports coming in other than the one from Honda and the one you mentioned in Castroville. What I'm going to do now, just to make sure we're okay, I'm going to actually bring up Composite and I'm going to see if there's anything else out there that may be potentially affecting us. So we got the storm right here. I'm not seeing anything else out there, Martin. Do you?
No, just
That
the smaller cells, and it looks like that storm to the west has completely drained the energy out of most of the area, except for South Texas around Corpus. So
yeah.
we should be okay in the region for the rest of the night after
I
this
think
goes.
yeah, I think so too now. Just because we're pretty much looks like we may be okay for the night, we still have a severe threat tomorrow, I believe. Let's bring up the turn off the radar here for a second, and let's bring up the SPC outlooks for today. So this is today, which accounts for that's part of the area. For the most part, we're in a slight and marginal. So let's look at tomorrow. This is the latest for tomorrow. So we're going to be pretty much in almost good, what, two-thirds of Texas looks going to be under a marginal risk for severe weather. Looks like if I looked at the radar, I'm sorry, the forecast for tomorrow, numerous thunderstorms are possible, and some of those could be on the severe side. So just because we didn't get severe weather tonight doesn't mean that we won't potentially have some tomorrow. And then look at Wednesday or the third day, and it's just a general thunderstorm outlook. So if we can do by tonight, if we can get through tonight and by tomorrow without any severe weather, we should be okay after that, at least on Wednesday. So,
Yeah, so I'm looking at what SPC put out, and again they're talking about another triple point forming somewhere nearby to us. And so, like, we got lucky. This one formed so far west of San Antonio that it didn't carry over, unlike last time. So,
right.
hopefully, we get another one, maybe a little bit closer, so we can get more dumping of rain on people. But yeah,
It's a fine
again,
line, isn't it? Because we want a strong storm that has enough power enough to drop the rain, but we don't want enough power to drop the hail and everything else with it.
yeah, yeah. So it's one of those things you don't want to be cheering for bad weather because it's bad weather, but yeah, it's affecting it's all your lost lives. It's affecting. We don't want that.
Yeah. And as you can see, this storm continues to weaken now with almost 42, 41 strikes now. And again, that seems to be centered more around the Castroville area. I'm going to put this into motion one more time. And you can see that it just continues to weaken. So I think at this point, we're just going to go ahead. Yes, you're going to continue. Some of you, especially on the south side, southwest and southeast side of Bear County, you're going to get some lightning. You're going to potentially get some pretty good rain, maybe a little bit of gusty winds, but any kind of severe elements at this point appear to be over. And this is essentially what we have at the moment. So I think at this point, unless something else comes up later on tonight, we'll go ahead and conclude our live as we have no severe warnings at this time. But should something come up, we'll definitely be updating you on Twitter. And should it become really live, potentially live for property threatening, we'll do a live if possible or needed. But thank you guys for joining us. I hope you found the information uh, informative. And again, we lucked out right as the storm was crossing into Bexar County. And so we just wanted to make sure you guys were aware as well. So we hope you have a good rest of your week, severe free, but hopefully with lots of rain. And thanks again for tuning in and showing your support, and we'll keep you updated online. This is Bexar County Severe Weather.